Hello dear students, I welcome you all once again. Today we are discussing the topic Convention on Biological Diversity. The Convention on Biological Diversity, often referred to as the Biodiversity Convention, represents a landmark international treaty established to tackle the urgent issue of biodiversity loss and promote the sustainable management of biological resources. Conceived during the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, the CBD came into force on December 29, 1993, and has since been ratified by 196 nations. Its inception marked a significant moment in global environmental governance, emphasizing the critical need for coordinated action to combat biodiversity loss and its detrimental effects on ecosystems and human well-being. Now an introduction and background of the CBD. The later half of the 20th century saw unprecedented environmental degradation and loss of biodiversity driven by industrialization, agricultural expansion, and urbanization. These activities led to significant habitat destruction, pollution, overexploitation of resources, and climate change. The mounting evidence of these impacts prompted the international community to seek a collective approach to addressing environmental issues. The Earth Summit, also known as the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, was a pivotal event in environmental diplomacy. It brought together world leaders, policymakers, scientists, and activists to discuss sustainable development and environmental protection. One of the most significant outcomes of the Earth Summit was the establishment of the Convention on Biological Diversity. The CBD was created to address the global crisis of biodiversity loss and to promote the sustainable use of biological resources. It was recognized that biodiversity is not only vital for the health of ecosystems but also essential for human survival and well-being. The treaty aimed to create a legal framework for conserving biodiversity, ensuring the sustainable use of its components, and fairly sharing the benefits arising from the use of genetic resources. Now the governing body of the CBD. Conference of the Parties. The governing body of the CBD is the Conference of the Parties. This assembly, comprising representatives from all countries that have ratified the treaty, convenes every 2 years to assess progress, establish priorities, and commit to work plans. The COP serves as the ultimate decision-making authority for the CBD, ensuring that the treaty's objectives are pursued through strategic planning and international cooperation. At each COP meeting, parties review the implementation of the CBD, adopt decisions to further its objectives, and provide guidance on emerging issues related to biodiversity. The COP also establishes working groups and committees to address specific topics and enhance the implementation of the convention. Over the years, the COP has played a crucial role in shaping global biodiversity policies and fostering collaboration among the nations. Now let us discuss aims and objectives of the CBD. The Convention on Biological Diversity was founded on 3 primary aims: the conservation of the biological diversity, the sustainable use of its components, and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from the use of genetic resources. These aims are articulated through specific goals and strategic frameworks designed to address the intricate and interconnected challenges of global biodiversity conservation. Conservation of biological diversity. The foremost aim of the CBD is the conservation of the biological diversity. This encompasses the protection of the variety of life forms on Earth, including species diversity, genetic diversity, and ecosystem diversity. The goal is to halt and reverse the biodiversity loss caused by human activities such as habitat destruction, pollution, overexploitation, and climate change. Key objectives under this aim include protecting ecosystems, ensuring the conservation of diverse ecosystems such as forests, wetlands, coral reefs, and grasslands which harbor a wide array of species. preserving species, preventing the extinction of threatened and endangered species through measures such as protected areas, species recovery programs, and anti-poaching efforts. Maintaining genetic diversity, conserving genetic variability within species to ensure their adaptability and resilience to environmental change. Protecting ecosystems. Ecosystems are the foundation of biodiversity, providing habitat for countless species and delivering essential services such as clean air and water, pollination of crops, and climate regulation. The CBD emphasizes the importance of protecting various ecosystems, recognizing that each ecosystem supports unique species and ecological processes. For example, tropical rainforests are home to an estimated 50% of world species, making their conservation crucial for global biodiversity. Initiatives under the CBD aim to establish and manage protected areas, promote sustainable land use practices, and restore degraded ecosystems. The establishment of the Global Environmental Facility (GEF) has provided financial support for numerous conservation projects worldwide, helping in protecting of critical habitats and promote sustainable development. Now, preserving the species. Species conservation is a central focus of the CBD, as the loss of species can disrupt ecosystems and diminish their capacity to provide essential services. The CBD promotes the creation and management of protected areas, species recovery programs, and measures to combat poaching and illegal wildlife trade. One notable success story is the recovery of the Arabian oryx, which was once extinct in the wild. Through coordinated efforts by governments, conservation organizations, and local communities, captive breed individuals were reintroduced to their natural habitats, and the species now has stable populations in the wild. Maintaining genetic diversity. Genetic diversity within the species is critical for their adaptability and resilience to the environmental changes, diseases, and other threats. The CBD promotes the conservation of genetic resources through measures such as seed banks, gene banks, and in situ conservation. These efforts help to preserve the genetic variability of crops, livestock, and wild species, ensuring their long-term survival and utility of future generations. Sustainable use of biodiversity components. Another aim of the CBD is to promote the sustainable use of biodiversity components. This entails using biological resources in ways that do not lead to their long-term decline, ensuring that these resources can fulfill the needs of present and future generations. Sustainable use is vital to balancing conservation efforts with economic and social development. Goals related to this aim include sustainable agriculture and forestry, implementing practices that maintain ecosystem health while providing food, fiber, and other resources. Sustainable fisheries, managing fish stocks in a way that prevents overfishing and supports the livelihoods of fishing communities. Ecotourism, promoting tourism that supports conservation efforts and provides economic benefits to local communities without harming the biodiversity. Sustainable agriculture and forestry. Agriculture and forestry are major drivers of biodiversity loss, but they can also be part of the solution. The CBD promotes sustainable agricultural practices that enhance soil health, conserve water, and protect habitats. Agroecology, organic farming, and agroforestry are examples of sustainable practices that can increase productivity while conserving the biodiversity. In forestry, the CBD advocates for sustainable forest management, practices that maintain the ecological integrity of forests while providing timber, non-timber forest products, and ecosystem services. Certification schemes like the Forest Stewardship Council and the programs for the endorsement of forest certification promote responsible forestry practices and help consumers make informed choices. Sustainable fisheries. Fisheries provide a vital source of protein and livelihoods for millions of people worldwide, but overfishing has led to the depletion of many fish stocks. The CBD promotes the sustainable management of fisheries through measures such as quotas, marine protected areas, and ecosystem-based management. These approaches aim to maintain healthy fish populations and marine ecosystems, ensuring that fisheries can continue to provide benefits for future generations. One example of successful fisheries management is the recovery of the Atlantic cod population of the coast of Norway. Through strict quotas, closed seasons, and habitat protection, the cod population has rebounded, supporting both the ecosystem and the fishing industry. Ecotourism. Ecotourism is a form of tourism that promotes conservation and benefits local communities. It provides an economic incentive to protect natural areas and wildlife while educating tourists about the importance of biodiversity. The CBD supports ecotourism initiatives that create jobs, generate revenue for conservation, and foster a sense of stewardship among the local communities and visitors. The Galapagos Islands are a prime example of successful ecotourism. Strict regulations limit the number of visitors and control their activities, ensuring that tourism supports conservation efforts and minimizes environmental impact. Revenue from tourism funds conservation projects and supports local communities, creating a sustainable model for biodiversity protection. Fair and equitable sharing of benefits. The third aim of the CBD is to ensure the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from the utilization of genetic resources. This involves recognizing the value of genetic resources, ensuring that benefits are shared fairly among all stakeholders, and promoting the share of scientific knowledge and technology. This aim is essential for fostering international collaboration and respecting the rights of all parties involved in the use of genetic resources. Recognizing the value of genetic resources. Genetic resources have immense value for research, medicine, agriculture, and industry. The CBD promotes the recognition of this value and encourages countries to establish legal frameworks that regulate access to genetic resources and ensure fair benefit sharing. These frameworks help to prevent the biopiracy and ensure that the benefits derived from genetic resources contribute to conservation and sustainable development. Equitable benefit sharing. Equitable benefit sharing involves ensuring that the benefits arising from the use of genetic resources are shared fairly among all stakeholders, including indigenous and local communities who often hold traditional knowledge about these resources. The CBD promotes the development of access and benefit sharing agreements that outlines the terms and conditions for accessing genetic resources and sharing the resulting benefits. The Nagoya Protocol, a supplementary agreement to the CBD, provides a transparent legal framework for the implementation of ABS. It requires countries to establish clear legal frameworks for accessing genetic resources, obtaining prior informed consent, and negotiating mutually agreed terms for benefit sharing. Strategic goals and frameworks. To operationalize its aims, the CBD has developed several strategic frameworks, targets, and protocols. The IG biodiversity targets set for the 2011 to 2020 period provided a comprehensive plan to address biodiversity loss. These targets covered various aspects of biodiversity conservation, sustainable use, and benefit sharing. Nagoya Protocol. The Nagoya Protocol on access to genetic resources and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from the utilization to the conservation of biological diversity is a supplementary agreement to the CBD. It provides a transparent legal framework for the effective implementation of one of the three objectives of the CBD, the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from the utilization of genetic resources. The Nagoya Protocol was adopted in 2010 and is a legal binding protocol. Under the Nagoya Protocol, there are specific requirements or obligations that each country must fulfill, like every country should create a clear and unambiguous legal framework for access to its genetic resources. This framework would include clear laws, rules, and procedures. Every country should ensure that its consent is obtained when accessing to its genetic resources and that terms for sharing benefits, whether monetary or non-monetary, are mutually agreed upon by both contracting parties with access to justice for both parties. The Nagoya Protocol aims to promote fairness and equity in the utilization of genetic resources, recognizing the rights of countries and communities that provide these resources. It encourages the sharing of benefits derived from genetic resources such as royalties, research findings, and technology transfers to support conservation and sustainable development. Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. The Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety to the Convention on Biological Diversity, also known as the Biosafety Protocol, was adopted in January 2000. This protocol seems to protect biological diversity from the potential risks posed by living modified organisms resulting from modern biotechnology. It is a legally binding protocol that addresses biosafety measures related to the import and export of LMOs and commodities derived from them. The Biosafety Protocol emphasizes the precautionary principle, allowing countries to take preventive measures when there is insufficient scientific evidence about the safety of LMOs. It provides a framework for assessing and managing the risks associated with LMOs, ensuring that the development and use of biotechnology do not harm biodiversity and human health. Key provisions of the Cartagena Protocol include Advance Informed Agreement. Exporting countries must notify importing countries before the first intentional transboundary movement of LMOs intended for release into the environment. Importing countries have the right to approve or reject the import based on risk assessments. Biosafety Clearing House, an online platform that facilitates the exchange of information about LMOs, including risk assessments, regulatory decisions, and scientific research. Now, the capacity building. The protocol promotes capacity building and technical assistance to help countries, especially developing nations, implement biosafety measures and comply with the protocol's requirements. The Cartagena Protocol aims to ensure that biotechnology developments are conducted safely and responsibly, balancing the benefits of biotechnology with the need to protect biodiversity and human health. IG Biodiversity Targets. The IG Biodiversity Targets were adopted by the Convention on Biological Diversity at its Nagoya Conference in 2010. These targets were part of the Strategic Plan for Diversity 2011 to 2020 and aimed to address the underlying causes of biodiversity loss, reduce pressures on biodiversity, safeguard ecosystem, species and genetic diversity, enhance the benefits of biodiversity, and promote implementation through participatory planning, knowledge management, and capacity building. The IG targets provides a comprehensive framework for action with 20 specific targets organized under 5 strategic goals. Strategic Goal A: address the underlying cause of biodiversity loss by mainstreaming biodiversity across government and society. This goal includes targets related to raising awareness, integrating biodiversity into national policies, and reducing harmful incentives and subsidies. Strategic Goal B: reduce the direct pressures on biodiversity and promote sustainable use. This goal includes targets related to habitat conservation, sustainable agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, and reducing pollution and invasive species. Strategic Goal C: improve the states of biodiversity by safeguarding ecosystems, species, and genetic diversity. This goal includes targets related to expanding protected areas, preventing species extinctions, and conserving genetic diversity. Strategic Goal D: enhance the benefits to all from biodiversity and ecosystem services. This goal includes targets related to restored degraded ecosystems, enhancing ecosystem resilience, and ensuring equitable access to ecosystem services. Now, the Strategic Goal E: enhance implementation through participatory planning, knowledge management, and capacity building. This goal includes targets related to strengthening policies, frameworks, improving knowledge and data, and enhancing capacity for biodiversity management. The IT targets provided a roadmap for countries to achieve significant progress in biodiversity conservation by 2020. While progress has been made in some areas, the final assessment of the IT targets indicated that greater efforts are needed to fully achieve these ambitious goals and halt biodiversity loss. Now, let's highlight some global and local efforts in biodiversity conservation. The CBD's goals are supported by a wide range of international initiatives, agreements, and local efforts that contribute to biodiversity conservation. These efforts involve governments, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, community-based organizations, and individuals working together to protect biodiversity and promote sustainable development. For instance, international initiatives. Several international initiatives complement the CBD and enhance global biodiversity conservation efforts. These include the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, an international treaty aimed at the conservation and sustainable use of wetlands. The Ramsar Convention recognizes the ecological and economic importance of wetlands and promotes their wise use and protection. The Convention on International Trade on Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, an international agreement that regulates the trade of endangered species to ensure that their survival is not threatened by overexploitation. The Global Environmental Facility, a financial mechanism that provides funding for projects related to biodiversity conservation, climate change mitigation, and sustainable development. Now, role of NGOs and community-based conservation. Non-governmental organizations play a crucial role in biodiversity conservation by raising awareness, advocating for policy change, and implementing on-the-ground conservation projects. NGOs such as the World Wildlife Fund, Conservation International, and International Union for Conservation of Nature work globally and locally to protect species, restore habitats, and engage communities in conservation efforts. Community-based conservation is another essential component of biodiversity conservation. Local communities often have traditional knowledge and a deep connection to their natural environment, making them valuable partners in conservation. Community-based initiatives empower local people to manage and protect their natural resources, providing economic incentives and fostering a sense of ownership and stewardship. Examples of successful community-based conservation include community conservation in Namibia. Namibia's community conservancy program involves local community in wildlife management and tourism. The program has led to significant increase in wildlife populations and improved livelihoods for community members. The Maya Biosphere Reserve in Guatemala. This reserve combines conservation and sustainable development by involving local communities in forest management and ecotourism. The project has helped to protect one of the Central America's largest remaining rainforests while providing economic opportunities for local people. Now let us discuss challenges and future perspectives. Despite significant progress in biodiversity conservation, several challenges remain addressed. Addressing these challenges requires coordinated efforts at local, national, and global levels involving governments, businesses, communities, and individuals. Ongoing and emerging challenges. First of all, there is an emerging challenge, that is the climate change. Climate change poses a significant threat to biodiversity, altering habitats and affecting species distributions. Adaptation and mitigation strategies are needed to protect biodiversity in the face of changing climatic conditions. Habitat loss and fragmentation. Habitat destruction and fragmentation continue to be major drivers of biodiversity loss. Efforts to protect and restore habitats, establish wildlife corridors, and promote sustainable land use practices are crucial. Now the pollution. Pollution from agricultural runoffs, industrial activities, and plastic waste harms ecosystems and species. Reducing pollution through improved waste management, sustainable agriculture, and regulatory measures is essential. Invasive species. Invasive species outcompete native species and disrupt ecosystems. Preventing the introduction and spread of invasive species through biosecurity measures and management practices is crucial. Now the future directions for the CBD. The CBD must continue to evolve and adapt to address emerging challenges and drive progress in biodiversity conservation. Future directions for the CBD include post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. Building on the Aichi targets, the CBD is developing a new global biodiversity framework for the post-2020 period. This framework will set ambitious targets and actions to halt biodiversity loss and ensure the sustainable use of biodiversity. Integrating biodiversity into developmental plans. Mainstreaming biodiversity considerations into national and international developmental plans, policies, and strategies is essential for achieving sustainable development goals and promoting biodiversity conservation. Enhancing financing for biodiversity. Securing adequate financial resources for biodiversity conservation is critical. Innovative financing mechanisms, public-private partnerships, and increased investment in nature-based solutions can support conservation efforts. Strengthening partnerships and collaboration. Collaboration among governments, NGOs, the private sector, indigenous people, and local communities is vital for effective biodiversity conservation. Strengthening partnerships and fostering multi-stakeholder engagement can enhance the implementation of the CBD's objectives. Now, let's conclude this whole topic. The Convention on Biological Diversity represents a critical global effort to address the complex challenges of biodiversity loss and promote the sustainable use of biological resources. Through its strategic goals, protocols, and initiatives, the CBD aims to conserve biological diversity, ensure the fair and equitable sharing of benefits, and promote sustainable development. While significant progress has been made, ongoing and emerging challenges require continued commitment and innovative solutions. By working together, governments, businesses, communities, and individuals can contribute to a future where biodiversity thrives, ecosystems are resilient, and the benefits of nature are enjoyed by all. The CBD's vision of living in harmony with nature remains a vital goal for the well-being of our planet and future generations. Thank you all.